started yet, have you?
Just now.
Okay, so I usually tell everybody it is going to be recorded, and it's, well, it is being recorded, and it'll be uploaded to YouTube so you guys can share with your families. If anybody was unable to attend today, you'll be able to share it with them on YouTube. Just Google my name, and we'll probably put Patty's name in there somewhere too, and it'll say NA program, and then you can share it with whoever you need to share it with. I'll make it public. So, I'm just gonna read, it just makes it easier. So, hello, and I always shake, sorry guys. I wanna take a moment to welcome you to our Nursing Assistant Program graduation ceremony for the NA students from Avamere Health Services, sponsored here in Avamere, Crestview, in Portland, Oregon. Please know we are recording for upload on YouTube for my personal nurse assisting YouTube page. All ceremonies are recorded and posted for families and friends who may not be able to attend, and for students to share with whomever they choose. I want to begin by reading a poem. It's pretty famous, although the author is unknown. This poem was found among the possessions of an elderly lady who died in the geriatric ward of a hospital. No information is available concerning her, who she was, or when she died. It was anonymous, and it's called See Me. Has anybody heard that? No? See Me. What do you see, nurses? What do you see? Are you thinking when you look at me? A crabby old woman, not very wise, uncertain of habit with far away eyes, who dribbles her food and makes no reply. When you say in a loud voice, I do wish you'd try. Who seems not to notice the things that you do, and forever is losing a stocking or shoe. Who, unresisting or not, lets you do as you will, with bathing and feeding the long day to fill. Is that what you're thinking? Is that what you see? Then open your eyes, nurse. You're looking at me. I'll tell you who I am as I sit here so still, as I rise at your bidding, as I eat at your will. I'm a small child of 10, with a father and mother, brothers and sisters who love one another, a young girl of 16 with wings on her feet, dreaming that soon now a lover she'll meet, a bride soon at 20, my heart gives a leap, remembering the vows that I promised to keep. At 25 now, I have young of my own, who need me to build a secure, happy home. A woman of 30, my young now grow fast, bound to each other with ties that should last. At 40, my young sons have grown and are gone, but my man's beside me to see I don't mourn. At 50, once more, babies play round my knee. Again we know children, my loved one and me. Dark days are upon me, my husband is dead. I look at the future, I shudder with dread. For my young are all rearing young of their own, and I think of the years and the love that I've known. I'm an old woman now, and nature is cruel. 'Tis her jest to make old age look like a fool. The body is crumbled, grace and vigor depart. There is now a stone where once I had a heart, but inside this old carcass a young girl still dwells, and now and again my battered heart swells. I remember the joys, I remember the pain, and I'm loving and living life over again. I think of the years all too few, gone too fast, and accept the stark fact that nothing can last. So I open your eyes, nurses, open and see. Not a crabby old woman, look closer, nurses, see me. My name is Misty Gordon. I'm an Oregon State Board of Nursing approved primary instructor and the program director for Avamere's Oregon program. This is Patty Winter, who is also a primary instructor for our program here in Oregon. Avamere's program is one of the very few free community-based nursing assistant programs here in Oregon, and we are proud to say that we are on track to helping produce several hundred newly certified nursing assistants each calendar year. Over the last several years, I've worked with dozens of students in some capacity through this program, and I must say that every day I'm finding myself more grateful for the time and the chance to do so. The nursing assistant class you're about to recognize has worked hard to get to this point since day one. They've reviewed and studied 56 chapters of materials. They've taken 14 daily quizzes. They've taken 3 tests and a final, and they were all successful. They then went to the floor and over time, dedicated over 75 hours each of their personal time, sacrificing their families, their personal lives, their jobs and commitments, and their sanity to complete the amount of hours required by the Oregon State Board of Nursing to demonstrate competence and skill at the level of an entry-level nursing assistant. I can personally attest to the difficulty and frustration one experiences going through the classroom and lab experience for a nursing career. These students have practiced and repracticed skills, have endured the funny looks they invariably get when retaking a vital or practicing a skill under the scrutiny of not only me, but the patients, their families, and staff members. Every class is different. Every class has their own quirks and fears and challenges. Every class has their, as Nurse Blake would classify them, the worrier, the perfectionist, or the anxious one, or the shy one. This class was no different, and of course had their own set of challenges to overcome. But what is most remarkable to me is the teamwork they have shown one another. They've come together, worked together, and have supported one another throughout this process, and now sit at the finish line. I was lucky to have been able to teach these students. It was a joy to be with them, and thanks to them, I look forward to each day in both the classroom and on the floor. My story as a CNA began in 2001, where I began as a student technician at a large teaching hospital on the East Coast. It was an amazing experience, and this is where I learned to love nursing, to identify with patients as people, not as a room number or a diagnosis. I can attribute my work ethic and values to the people surrounding me, from the peers that I worked with, the nurses that answered my incessant questions, the residents and the attendings who took the time to explain disease processes, nursing diagnoses, and intervention rationales, to include the friends and family members that did whatever they could to help, whether it was keeping the boys occupied or listening to my caffeine-fueled rants about how nursing school was going to be the death of me. My point is, I absolutely would not be where I am today, here with all of you and with this truly spectacular group of graduates if it were not for those people. I tell you these things because I want you all to know that it is never just one person that makes it possible for a person to attend school and achieve the needed educational requirements for career advancement. It literally takes a village. Students, husbands, wives, life partners, children, sisters and brothers, aunts, uncles, grandparents, friends, and of course the administrative staff and patients of supporting facilities that allow students to come on site and practice their skills. We all make it happen. So on this day, I want us all to take a moment and offer a round of applause to all persons present and those who may be watching online who have in some way influenced and helped the students along their path to this day. CNAs are often overlooked and undervalued. Here in our program, though, Avamere Health Services, we want our students to know their worth and their value. We want our students to realize the importance of their contributions and how much their communities will benefit from their work. If there's only one place in the world that understands what kind of work goes into becoming a CNA, I want them to know it was here under the guidance of our primary instructors. Because of this, we wanted these students to experience a true graduation ceremony. Many students work full-time, care for children, are single parents, are caregivers to family members, are single-handedly supporting a family, all while attending school and clinical, and masterfully pulling it off. The recognition for this sort of accomplishment cannot be too big. This graduation symbolizes their impending entry into the noblest and most respected profession in the world. I sincerely hope you all are as proud of your accomplishments as we are of you. We now would like to individually recognize these students, these future Oregon State Board of Nursing certified nursing assistants, these future leaders in care, these human beings that give so much of their time and heart to the patients here and now and in their futures. I'm going to ask that as each student is called, that they come up to accept their certificate and that they remain up here until all students are here together. Photo op. Now before we introduce each student, I'm going to read a quote from someone. These people influenced our ways of thinking about nursing, life, philosophy, and love, and have remained in our hearts, including mine, long after their departure from this earth. One can only hope they had the care of individuals such as this nursing assistant class to care for them in their final hours. This man was an American short story writer, an essayist, a biographer, historian, and diplomat of the early 19th century. These words remind me of the beauty of not only birth, but of death. Caring for the elderly when they can no longer do so for themselves is a passion that holds a special place in the nursing community. Bravery cries too. And he said, "There is a sacredness in tears. They are not the mark of weakness, but of power. They speak more eloquently than 10,000 tongues. They are messengers of overwhelming grief and unspeakable love." That was Washington Irving. Antoinette Cassidy. essayist, a lecturer, philosopher, and a poet who lived in the 1800s. His quote rings so true for me. I firmly believe that our past does not dictate our future. And he said, what lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies inside of you. That was Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of my favorite authors. Julia Lenz. Trying not to stab everybody. This one is almost immediately recognizable upon describing him. He's one of my all-time favorite childhood characters, and I was nicknamed after him. I often have to stop and think about what he says here, because sometimes life can be a little overwhelming. And he said, you're braver than you believe, and stronger and smarter than you think. That was Winnie the Pooh. Anna Bryan. You guys are gonna get this one. This man was a stand-up comedian and actor. His movie Patch Adams is one of the reasons I'm a nurse today. I've always said he had kind eyes. His smile and laugh were infectious. If you have a moment tonight, say a little prayer for this man who passed away at the age of only 63 due to issues related to mental illness. And he said, in a movie called Dead Poets Society, no matter what people tell you, words and ideas can change this world. That was Robin Williams. Jessica Quiroz. Okay, you can say it for me. Quiroz. Quiroz. Widely regarded as an icon of democracy and social justice, this man received more than 250 honors, including the Nobel Peace Prize. He was imprisoned for 27 years for fighting what he believed was right for his country. That is dedication in the face of unimaginable fear. And he said, I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. That was Nelson Mandela. Alexa Skelton. Before he was injured, this man was asked to run for Congress. I had the biggest crush on him, and I can tell you I'd have followed politics much more closely if he'd run. This man spent the last 10 years of his life lobbying on behalf of those suffering from spinal cord injuries after suffering an injury himself. He was the face of every kid's superhero, and he said, a hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. That was Christopher Reeve. Amanda Sanchez. Alrighty. That was great. Okay, this concludes our ceremony. Congratulations, NA graduates. I know you guys are super excited.